factor higher degree polynomials. So let's put all the things we've learned so far this unit together for this assignment. Okay. So when you look at each, let me stamp it first. Okay, so you're going to look at each polynomial. So we have one binomial here and one trinomial here. We're working on them in steps. This first one, what can we factor out? A greatest common factor out of 3x squared and negative 12x. Well, 3x, can you pull out both terms? 3x times what equals 3x squared? That's just x. And 3x times what equals negative 12x? Negative 4. First part's done. Now let's do the second part. I'll do it in blue. We got to factor this like you've been doing with the cross method. I'm going to do this pretty quickly because I hope you know how to do this by now. A times c is 1. Down here is negative 2. The factors of 1 are 1 and 1. And how can we add those up to get to negative 2? Well, they're both negative. So negative 1. And negative 1. So x minus 1 times x minus 1. You could rewrite this if you want as x minus 1 squared. Okay. That's the answer for the first one. So 3x times x minus 4. And then x minus 1. I'll do it the square way. Make sure that actually works. Yep. All right. This one's a little more challenging, I'll admit to that. We're going to be doing something called factor by grouping. This will be a more common thing you'll see next year in IM3. So whenever you see 4 terms, you want to think about this as a possible option. So the first two, x to the 5th and minus x to the 4th, kind of pretend these are in parentheses. Actually, see. Out here, like that. Now we're not multiplying, okay, but just pretend that they're in parentheses. So what can we factor out of the first 2 terms? Well, we get x to the 4th times x minus 1. And then looking at the next 2 terms, what can we factor out of 3x minus 3? Well, we can pull out a 3, and what's left over is x minus 1. And you might notice that we have an x minus 1 and an x minus 1. So we can actually, and they're both being multiplied by this number. So you rewrite it as x to the 4th plus 3 times our x minus 1. Okay, called factor by grouping. Whenever you see 4 terms, it might be a factor by grouping question. Kind of a little hint. So x to the 4th plus 3 times x minus 1. Okay, factor completely, only 3 terms, so no need to worry about factor by grouping. All right, so greatest common factor of all 3 numbers, 7, 21, and 14. That number is 7 we can pull out, and x5, x4, x3. x3 is our smallest exponent. The 3 terms left over, 7x cubed times what is 7x5? X squared. 7x cubed times what is negative 21x4? Negative 3x. And then finally, 7x cubed times what is 14x cubed? That is just 2. Now we pulled out the greatest common factor out here. We are not done. We have a trinomial. We can still factor. So I will do that factoring in color blue. Okay, so we're going to do a times c, which is 2, adding to negative 3. We've got some easy factors here. So the factors of 2 are 1 and 2. To get to negative 3, we know they both must be negative. So we get x minus 1 times x minus 2 with our 7x cubed out front. So 7x cubed, x minus 1 x minus 2. Oh, if you get this well land. X minus 1. Yep. Okay, oh, good, last one. All right. So one more thing. There's just this assignment is not exactly terribly hard. You just have to know how to recognize a lot of things. So this thing's called a difference of two squares. You've probably seen it before. I don't think we've actually talked about it too much in this class yet. But what you can see is it's a difference, so it's a subtraction problem. And both the x squared and 4 are perfect square roots. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 4 is 2. So what we do here is we just go straight into x minus 2 times x plus 4. We were working, sorry, not plus 4, plus 2. Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. Okay, we actually were working, one of our assignments this unit was multiplying these binomials, and you would end up with this. Okay, so if you take this and put it into box method, you do x minus 2, sorry, too far up, and x plus 2. What happens is we get x times x is x squared, x times negative 2 is negative 2x, x times positive 2 is positive 2x, and 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Well, what happens is that middle term, these guys cancel out. So we just end up with x squared minus 4, okay? So it's called the difference of two squares. And now we need to factor this one as well, and that's going to be a quick x plus 3 times x plus 3, which we can also write that just as x plus 3 squared. So we got x minus 2, x plus 2, and then x minus 3, no, plus 3 wasn't it? Plus 3 squared. Ta-da!